In today's Warzone video, we're taking a look at the top 5 fastest TTK guns in Warzone. These builds here will have the fastest time to kill, so I hope you guys enjoy this. If you do, let's break 200 likes in 24 hours and hit that subscribe button with all notifications turned on. All right, so for the first gun today, we're going to be taking a look here at the Lockman sub. This definitely has one of the faster TTKs in Warzone. That's why it's one of the number 1 to number 2 meta SMGs in the game between this and the Vast of 9K. You guys have to be able to use this gun, and this is a really solid build here. Super high in mobility, and the TTK is incredibly fast. So let's get into it. So here's my general overview of these attachments. Now let's kind of break it all down for you guys. So first thing in here is going to be the Lacerta compensator. We're going to use that for that horizontal recoil control because this thing really wants to bounce around, and especially when you add on the stock that we have on there, this thing definitely likes to bounce around side to side, so we really have to compensate for that. And the tune on this is going to be a negative 0.18 and a plus 0.12. At that, we're going to go up in here and throw on the VOK Laser 7MW for aim down sight speed, inmix stability, and sprint to fire speed. A great attachment no matter what gun you put it on. Between this, the FSSOLE, you really can't go wrong. The tune on this thing here is going to be a negative 0.29 and plus 37.84. At that, we're going to go down here and throw on the 40 round mag. You guys could definitely throw on the 50 round mag, and if you can tell actually here that polyatomic is now animated here via the update today, so that was actually pretty sick. But the 40 round mag here is what we are going to be using for this build. After that, we're going to go in here to the rear grip section for the Lockman TCG10. So this can help us out hugely with that recoil control because, I mean, you know that if you happen to have a stock on this gun or you're trying to make a mobility build, any gun in the game is going to have a decent amount of recoil, and this is going to kind of really, slow us down for, recoil and everything. Or I should say level it out. My bad, not slow it down, but that's, I guess, the proper terminology there. The tune on this is going to be a negative 0.26 and a plus 0.13. And then for our final attachment, the LM stockless mod. So this is a fantastic attachment if you're trying to go for peak mobility. This gun will have a little bit more recoil than some of the other builds that I've given you guys, but otherwise this should be a fantastic one to be able to use. That's gonna have a super fast TTK and be great for those close quarters engagements. So that's my full build there. Now let's move on to our next gun. For our next gun here today, we're gonna be taking a look at the X13 Auto. I normally don't cover pistols here, but because we're talking about the fastest TTK in the game, the X13 Autos have a crazy fast TTK for that close range. So let's give you guys a build in case you happen to want to run this on your loadout and don't want to run something like overkill. Here's my general overview of these attachments to kind of show you guys what I'm running. They've gone through a different, couple different variations here, buffs and nerfs, of what build to run on this thing, but this is gonna be the most refined one here so far. So we're gonna have the FT Steel Fire. This is gonna give us that sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, recoil smoothness, all great things here to be able to have on the X13 Auto. I mean, this is an akimbo pistol more or less. That's how they're the most effective, is if you run it akimbo. So I'd recommend for you guys to run this. I mean, it helps out hugely. The tune on this is gonna be a plus 0.41 and a plus 0.58. At that, we're gonna go up in here. We're gonna throw in the XRK Sidewinder -6 slide barrel. Helps to recoil control and bullet velocity, which is definitely something we need. We can kind of take those cons there. That's entirely okay. The tune on this is gonna be a plus 0.24 and a plus 0.15. At that, we're gonna throw on the 1MW pistol laser for that hip recoil control, hip fire accuracy, and sprint to fire speed. This is just a great attachment, and it's pretty beneficial for being in close quarters. I mean, hip fire accuracy, sprint to fire, hip recoil control. I mean, you really need this if you're hip firing. And also, there's no tune on this just because no matter what you do, I mean, you're going to be, screwing yourself one way or the other. So we just kind of left the tune non-existent. After that, we're gonna go throw on the 33 round mag. So you guys can throw on the 33 or the 50 round mag. It's kind of up to you, but large in part, you will be a little bit slower with that 50 as opposed to running around with the 33. So I've ran around with the 33. It's pretty effective this way. You can also, I mean, keep in mind, this is 33 per gun. So you can run the 50 or you can run the 33. It is up to you. And then for our final attachment, of course, make it as effective as it can be. We're running the Kimbo version of this gun, and that's what makes it super, super effective and have that super fast TTK. That's why it's so good at that close range. But the Kimbo X13, that is my full build there for that. Hope you enjoy. Now let's move on to the next one. All right, now for a banger that I don't think you guys saw coming, the RAL LMG. So this doesn't get used enough, maybe just because it's a little bit slower on the, on the mobility side of things, but it's got a super fast TTK, and this thing hits incredibly hard. So if you've ever wondered why I've gotten deleted by it, this is going to be why, just because it's such a fast TTK gun. So let's hop into it. Here's my general base overview of these attachments, and I'm not gonna lie, the polyatomic looks so good on this thing here when it moves around. I absolutely love that. But let's get into my overview here, or my general attachment breakdown. So we have the F-Tac Reaper, sound suppression, bullet velocity, damage range, and recoil smoothness. A great thing here to be able to have on this. Does kind of need it. The tune on this is gonna be a plus 0.68 and a plus 0.87. At that, we're gonna go and throw on the 21 EXF Rhino barrel. Recoil control, bullet velocity. I mean, we're trying to make this thing as effective as it possibly can be at range, so that's going to help us out. The tune on that is going to be all the maxed out for recoil steadiness and a plus 18 there on the bottom. Now let's go down here. We're gonna throw on the SA side grip. So aiming idle stability, aim walking steadiness, recoil stabilization. I mean, the RAL will kick if you don't stabilize it out, and so we definitely have to do that. That's kind of why it's, you know, a little bit slower, is because you're stabilizing it out. But I mean, that TTK kind of makes up for some of the sluggishness you kind of get with this thing. The tune on that is be maxed out for recoil stabilization and aiming stability. And then now let's go all the way back here. I'm gonna throw on the Stip-40 grip. More recoil control. I mean, it's the RAL, it's gonna kick, so we have to be able to do that. And the tune on this is gonna be all the way maxed out for recoil steadiness and a plus 0.35 there for aiming stability. And then for our final attachment, we have the Schlager 3.4. So this is a great attachment to be able to run on this gun, just because you can be effective at some pretty decent ranges. So having that 3.4 is going to work out in your favor pretty nicely. Also, the VLK 4x, you can definitely try that out, but the Schlager is really good. Or if you want to go up down here, maybe run something like, where is the aim op v4, you can run the aim op v4 as well. But the tune for the Schlager is going to be a plus 155 and a negative 150 on the bottom. So that's that is my full build there for the RAL LMG. All right, so for our fourth gun here today, a gun I'm pretty sure a lot of you didn't see coming here, apart from the RAL LMGs, the STB 556. So this is a gun that is incredibly effective, but it doesn't get enough love just because, you know, the ISO hemlock is so good. You can build it a variety of different ways, but the STB is a really solid gun with a fast TTK. So let's give you guys a good build you can dominate with. So here's gonna be my general overview. Now let's break it all down. So first thing here is gonna be the Harbinger D20, a classic suppressor we run on a variety of different builds. This is just a really good one for, you know, overall longer range engagements. The tune on that's gonna be plus 90, plus 65. At that, we got the FTAC FB20 barrel, bullet velocity, damage range, recoil control, and hipfire accuracy. And then the tune on this is going to be plus 15 and a plus 25. Let's move on down here. FTAC Gripper 56. This is a foregrip I've ran so many times before, just because it's so good. It works very well on a variety of different builds, so you really got no issues there. The tune on that is going to be a plus 44 and a plus 32 on the bottom. Now let's move on down here, and we're going to throw on the 42 round mag. So kind of like the ISO Hemlock, it only has a 42 round mag, where the Hemlock has a 45, and there's no 60 round or 50 round mag. So that's kind of like one of the downsides, probably why this doesn't get used maybe as much, but 42 rounds is still, you know, perfectly fine for this gun. Then for our last attachment, the AMOP V4. I mean, you guys can run this, the Cronin Mini Red Dot if you really want to. Any red dot sight will work out perfectly fine, especially if you're playing Ashika Island. But the tune on this is going to be a negative 0.58 and a negative 165 on the bottom. So that's my full build there. Now let's move on to our final gun. Now for our other meta SMG here, we talked about the Lockman earlier. Now we have the Vaznev 9K. So this is my most refined build out there that I've possibly could find, I've created. This is definitely the best one that you guys can be using here in Warzone. That's going to yield the most mobility and the best TTK. So let's get into it. So first thing is going to be the Lockshot KT85 horizontal and vertical recoil control. We run this over the other compensators because it slows you down less while still giving you great benefits. The tune on this is going to be negative 0.46 and a plus 0.15. After that, got to go up in here. FSS OLE-V laser, ADS speed, aiming stability, and of course sprint and fire speed. This and the 7MW, same thing, different name, but they work great. The tune on this thing here is going to be a negative 0.29 and a negative 16.45. And then let's move on down here and throw on the 45 round mag. So it's got 30 round stock, got to bump it up to 45. That's, you know, pretty standard. So I think that's, you know, an understandable attachment. And then the back here, we're going to go through the True Tac grip, sprint to fire speed, aim down sight speed. Can't complain right there. The tune on that's going to be a negative 0.35 and a negative 0.15. And then for our final attachment here for this video, the broadside FCT. So we have the ability to access this just because of the broadside shotgun when that got added into the game. Before we were in the Otrizat or the Marquis R7, but this is a great attachment to be able to run for your Vaznev 9K. And the tune on that is going to be negative 2.97 and a plus 70. So that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed that top 5 fastest TTK. If you did, give it a like, subscribe, check out these other videos here on screen, and just don't know, Captain, I'll be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.